o'clock. We're going to get started. Good morning. I see there's only one person here. I'm Stephen D. LaRoche. I'm the magistrate for code enforcement for the city of Daytona Beach Shores. I am willing to accommodate you first since you're here, and then we will do everybody that is not here. Okay. What's wrong?
Pardon me, Your Honor. We do have a Teams.
Do you want to take the teams first?
I told him he could go first, and then we could, because we have to shift to a different platform.
Okay.
But then, as far as the first who's present, once we shift back.
All right, then we'll do it that way. So I'm not going to give the instructions until I have the teams person on, so I don't have to do it twice. Okay?
We have them online right now.
Pardon?
We have them online right now.
Okay, could you flip them up or whatever it is?
And they just need to unmute.
Mr. Light.
Okay. Good morning, sir. Oops.
He's on mute.
You may be on mute. I can see your mouth moving, but I can't hear you.
This is going to be good.
It was his first Teams. It's mine also.
Is that
Yes, now I have you.
okay? Good morning.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. We have several hearings this morning. We're going to take you first, and I'm going to give the instructions for all the hearings right now, and then we'll start with yours, okay?
Okay, fine.
All right,
Thank
the
you.
way that-
Fine, thank you.
All right, the way hearings are conducted is the city of Daytona Beach Shores has the burden of proof going forward. They will present information and evidence to me regarding alleged code violations. At the conclusion of each of their witnesses, you each get to ask that witness a question, as in cross-examining them. It is not your time to testify. You can ask them a question such as, when did you last see the property? It is not your time to make a statement and ask if they agree with it. After the city has called all of its witnesses, then it is your turn. You can call witnesses, you can show pictures, you can testify yourself. I will hear argument from both sides, and then I will make a decision regarding the code violation and what needs to be done to rectify it. Oops. Do we still have him here?
I'm
Okay.
still here.
If at any time you don't understand what's going on, please ask. I'm more than happy to explain. What is most important to me is that you understand that the city is here to protect you and the other citizens, and that you receive a fair hearing. So if you don't understand, you didn't hear me if you're on Teams, you're seeing my mouth move, but you don't hear any sound, please make a timeout sign if we can't hear you, and we will back up to the last time you were able to hear us and move forward again. Everybody clear on what's going on? Okay. All right, so the first order of business is to approve the minutes, which I understand both of the two people that are here for the hearing were not here for the minutes, and the only other people are those of us that work here. So unless there's an objection, we're going to approve them. Okay, great. Hearing no objection, we're through with that part. Okay, the first case is City of Daytona Beach Shores versus Silverleaf 1238B LLC. The property address is 138 Boatford Avenue in Daytona Beach Shores. The code enforcement case is CDEF 2020-92. Ms. Herstein, could you please raise your right hand and be sworn? Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. So what is going on with this piece of property?
I'd first like to ask that each of the documents provided by the city in the Code Enforcement Special Magistrate Notebook for this case be accepted as evidence, along with the slides in the PowerPoint program, which are about to be shown, and all of which have been furnished to the respondent.
Okay. And sir, what is your name?
Johan Light.
Okay, Mr. Light, were you provided the documents that the city intends to prove their case with?
Yes, I was.
And do you have any legal objection to those documents?
No, I do not. At this point, I would like to say that I do appreciate equal words of, ask, I've got a terrible echo. Is there anything that can be done to that?
I'm sorry, you have a terrible what?
Echo.
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 Oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry. We have the same problem,
Every
having a hard
time.
time understanding you.
There is also a 3 to 4 second delay, which we all have to be aware of and
Right.
try to help each other through.
Mr. Light, my question to you is, do you have any legal objection to any of the documents the city has
No.
given you? Okay, then without objection, all of those documents contained in the special magistrate notebook will be accepted into evidence.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Hursti, your chance to make a presentation.
This is a property that has two-story apartment buildings on it. It's at 138 Botifer Avenue, and you can see it's an irregularly shaped property. You can see how it sits on Botifer Avenue along Frail Street.
Okay.
And these violations relate to the north building, which is the one in front along Botifer, and then the south building, which is the one in the back. And I will be referring to each. Sometimes I mentioned that violations are on both buildings.
Now, in the picture, we're only concerned with the, this is a quadrilateral that's outlined in orange.
Correct. That's the property. That is this parcel that we're speaking of. And the adjoining parcels on the outside of that orange are owned by other individuals.
Oh, okay.
So this case started with 14 violations, 2 of which, violations C and M, were already rectified. They had to do with painting doorways, and I don't recall what the other was, but it was already rectified. I think I have a picture of it later on, so we'll get back to that, leaving 12 violations. As of last night, another couple were able to be signed off on as compliant. So at the end of my presentation, I will be asking for a no fine special, or no fine standing order for the ones that have been rectified prior to today.
Okay.
And then I will also be asking for an order imposing, or rather findings of fact with potential fines. I think my microphone stopped. The light went out, Sherry.
Probably dead battery.
Switch. So I will be asking for 2 orders at the end, based on the fact that some of them were rectified in the last week or 2, and then some that are still compliant and will need a time frame to be corrected still.
Can you see?
It's very humid in here, and I'm gonna have to get Rain-X or something. I can see well enough to get through this.
Okay.
And I'm not coughing, so I think that that's a plus. Okay, so this case began back in November 16th of 2020 with a complaint from a tenant she was a tenant of one of the buildings on the property, and she had a few things that she wanted to tell me about, most of which I couldn't help her with, but directed her where she could potentially get help with those. And I did tell her I would come out and look at the property and get an overall, to see if there was anything that I could help her with, or if there were any violations that I could help get resolved. I re-inspected the next day, that was November 17th, and then I did a follow-up inspection, which I like to do on a property that does have multiple violations, because there's a chance that catching a building in a different light, I may see something differently or see something that I hadn't seen the first time, which actually ended up happening. The notice of violation was sent mid-December. Good service was achieved on that mailing. It was sent by certified mail, and you can see that beginning on page 5A7. The service was achieved at the end of December. So the owner and I communicated about needing more time twice. We communicated in in February, and then also in March. He wanted to work toward getting things resolved. I have worked with this owner before and have had satisfactory resolutions. But in this case, he was having some trouble, being that he's in North Carolina, that's part of it, illness of people who were working for him, et cetera, and contractor struggles getting contractors to respond to him. In mid-March, I ended up speaking in my office with a window contractor. We spent about 20 minutes together and talked about exactly which windows were at issue. I made him copies of the pictures of those windows. We circled them together, and he went off theoretically to get measurements and get the windows ordered. At that time when he came in, and also another time during that week when I spoke with him, which was mid-March, I heard from two separate individuals that PGT Windows, which is the company that this gentleman orders from, it's a popular window company, window supplier, that they're on back order 6 months.
Oh,
So I had heard that twice in a week from different people. I believe it to be true, and that's for production. So when we go to talking about timeframes to correct, I would like to, rather than just waiting and dealing with this in the future, I'd rather put an order in place, go ahead and make sure that we give that time to correct plus the time for installation. So I will be asking for 2 separate compliance dates in that particular findings of fact.
okay.
In the last month, I've had a couple of conversations about this property with a drafting and engineering company called Superior, who says that they're working on the plans to be submitted for both the utility room walls and the cracked column at the top of the utility room wall is at the north building. The cracked column is on the second floor of at the stair overhang of the south building. And so they said that they were going to have those plans done, which would need to be submitted with a permit application by the end of next week. So I'm looking forward to that, but I have had a number of conversations with this company, and I haven't been confident when hanging up that the end result was going to be achieved. So I'm a little...
What are you speaking about when you talk about a column in a utility room?
I'll show you a picture. Both pieces are basically either are associated with stairs. I'll show you pictures, and that'll be helpful, I think.
Okay.
Okay. In fact, let's go ahead and do that now, if you will, if I may. A violation A, I'm going to go through the violations, point out pictures. If you need more time than I'm giving, please ask me to stop. Violation A, I generally have the initial inspection pictures grouped together with the orange with the date, and then the red being the ones that were taken more recently. I did go twice for reinspection pictures because March 19th, some of the pictures came out a little bit fuzzy, so I went back on the 23rd. So you have for reinspect dates both March 19th and March 23rd, and these are all done from the right-of-way. The painted surfaces are fading, streaking, peeling, blistering, discoloring, and cracking in places, both buildings. I saw as of yesterday. They did attempt to work on this that I saw back in March. Unfortunately, you can see on that lower right picture that a lot of the paint that they applied actually bubbled in large places. But when I went last night, I could see that it was flat and painted unsatisfactorily, both buildings. So violation at A will be one that I ask to be on the no fine standing order. And I will summarize that at the end as well. Violation B, paint peeling, deteriorated, faded, and discolored, does not present a neat and fresh appearance. Both buildings, again, same pictures pretty much, but that has been satisfactorily rectified as of last night. Violation C, doors are discolored, rusted, and or rusting through paint, north building. This had been rectified before the statement of violation request for hearing. So that's not going to be on either orders. Violation D, 2 AC units rusting through paint, north building. 1 rusted unit remained. You can see that on the bottom right picture as of March 19th. That lower first floor unit was still rusted. That has been rectified as of last night. I was able to see that that is compliant. That'll be on the no fine standing order. Violation E, fascia is discolored in places and not protected by paint in others, both buildings. Unfortunately, there are still areas of fascia that are not able to be signed off on, that are still discolored. Violation F, cables run on south building do not present a neat and fresh appearance, north, east, and south faces. This is something that has not been fully handled. The south building, some of the other faces of this south building have been addressed acceptably, but this issue is still, it's not a dangerous issue because we're talking about cables in these places, not like electrical wiring, which need to be in conduit, but it is definitely unsightly. Violation G, missing cover and cables run on north building do not present a neat and fresh appearance west face. I was able to see last night that as of March 19th, though it hadn't been fixed, I was able to see last night that the one on the left had a cover, the one on the right was removed and painted behind. There's still a long dangling cable that needs to be secured, so this is going to go on the findings of fact with time to correct and get that properly handled. Violation H, cracks in the utility room walls under the stair landing of unit A2 north building. Okay, so this is on the first floor that we're looking at these circles. It's under a stair landing. If you look at the top picture with the yellow, you can see that there's a crack that runs all the way along the north face of that utility room. It continues around the side to the east face. They did go in, I saw by the time I'd gone out for my March 19th picture, they had gone in and applied some mastic, kind of messily, which is not an appropriate solution. It's a very temporary solution to this. And this has been something that we have that has come up on previous code enforcement notices for this property. And basically what happens is whatever they do ends up cracking again and being an issue again. It just needs to be officially dealt with, re-engineered, either whatever's missing needs to be done with this. And that was one of the two things that need the engineering, other than the windows. Violation I, window casing, wood deteriorated, north building, north and west faces. That is, you can see that with the follow-up pictures of the north building, those window casings and windows were not replaced for those two. Those are the two that need to be replaced for that building. Violation J, window mullions deteriorated. This is the south building, south face. These two windows, there are actually pieces missing in the wood that there's no way to just paint over it and call it a day. You can see that if you look at the top left corner. I think it shows up well for you depending on what screen you look at, but you can see actually the darker areas are pieces where there are just chunks of wood missing. Violation K, this is the crack at the top of the column supporting the second floor overhang, the south building. So this is that same area where the wires were. If you look at those two pictures, you can see that the top of the column, which is one of the two columns holding up the overhang at that stair landing, you can see that big crack, and one of the, looks like somebody tucked it back in, but one of the pieces of concrete is actually like was shifted out at one point when I saw it. And it's sheared. You can see some shearing lines that are horizontal underneath the crack. So that's one of the other two things that needs to be engineered and properly fixed. Violation L, soffit's falling on the north building, north face. The soffit was fixed in that area, but fell on the south building, south face. So that still, as of last night, was needing to be addressed. Shingles missing, south building. That was rectified, one of the two violations that was rectified by the time that I re-inspected. Violation N, light fixture rusted, north building, north face. Unfortunately, well, they did replace the light fixture, but they did not get the required electrical permit to do so, so that is still at issue. That has not been done. And here is a screenshot of all the permits for this address in the last 6 years. And basically, you can see with the top two that no recent permits, those are the most recent permits that have been obtained for this property, that no recent permits have been obtained to rectify these issues. This was a screenshot taken on April 14th, but I did look again this morning to make sure that nothing else had come in to address any of these. Our suggestion with those windows, there are a total of 5 window openings that do need to be replaced. Our suggestion is to permit the windows before ordering them, because it would be a shame to order something, spend 6 months waiting for them, and have the wrong windows or unapprovable windows come in. So we always suggest that they permit it first.
How long is the permit good for?
The permit is good for 6 months. There is just standardly, there is a governor's order overlay right now extending permits during this COVID time, and that has not been lifted. For something like this, we would make note and use common sense in making an extension without having the contractor pay again if everything were clear and talked about up front, which it has been and will be.
Okay.
So,
All right. Mr. Light,
I'm
sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
what are you requesting exactly?
Yes, I would like to request 2 things. I would like number 7, the regular findings of fact, conclusions of law and order for violations E through L and N. And I would like violations E, F, G, H, K, L, and N to be completed by September 21st, which is 5 months, and that is an extremely generous time frame in the city's opinion. But it will help address the issue if that engineering, which we haven't seen yet, I haven't, Mr. Light may have, but I haven't received it, seen it, Steve hasn't seen it to know if it's going to be satisfactory. It will help cushion that if he needs to find someone else. I would ask that in that same order that violations I and J pertaining to the windows be made compliant by December 21st, which is 8 months. That gives them, if he orders the windows now, the 6 months to do that, plus 2 months for a little bit of permitting now if he will do that up front, and also certainly still, in that time frame of the 2 months additional to install them.
Okay.
We would also like to ask for a no fine standing order, which is a number 5 for violations A, B, and D. And those pertain to paint and the 2 AC units being rusted.
Okay. All right. Mr. Light, do you have any questions for Ms. Herstein?
Well, can I make a few comments, please?
If you have no questions for her, you're more than welcome to make any comments you'd like in your portion. But let me ask her if she has any other witnesses before I turn the floor over to you. Do you have any other witnesses?
I would like to ask Steve to come to the podium briefly to as he has seen this property.
Okay. It's still the city's case, and this is your chance to cross-examine. If you have no questions for her, I will let the city engineer, that's your title, isn't it, Steve?
No, I'm the building inspector, plans examiner, deputy building official, construction superintendent. I've got a few of them.
You don't have to have that all on the back of your jersey.
Right.
Okay. You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Okay, and what would you like to tell me about this?
They're just, like I say, the biggest problems there is the concrete restoration with these concrete columns that are spalling. Usually it's done because of rebar inside there that's rusted, which is making the concrete spall. So usually just kind of pushing it back in place or caulking it doesn't ever work. We've done a lot of restoration work on these things where we've opened these things up before, and they usually just have to be corrected, so it happens once.
By corrected, you mean report?
What they do is they chip away the loose concrete, they remove it, they will clean the rebar, put a rust inhibitor on the rebar so it doesn't continue rusting and pushing on the concrete, and then re-pour the concrete with a grout.
Okay.
And does a contractor do that on his own, Steve, or his or her own, or is that done with with some other kind of overlay?
It's usually done with a contractor and an engineer.
All right. And this has to be engineered in order to receive a permit?
Yes.
Okay, makes sense. Mr. Light, do you have any questions for this gentleman?
I do not have questions, I do have comments.
Okay, all right. And if the city is done with its presentation, I will let Mr. Light say whatever he would
I
like.
just wanted to ask Steve if he had anything else to add that was not properly covered or anything to change that was improperly covered.
Not at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Light, this is your opportunity to tell me whatever you'd like.
Okay, may I start off just painting the overall ground picture? I'm sorry, I have so much I walk easily.
You may want to turn down your own volume. Maybe that'll help. Because I think what's happening is you're talking, our microphones are picking it up and sending it back to you.
Okay, it is that better?
Much better.
No, it makes no difference on my...
On your end. Well, I don't know if you have anything that you'd like to present to me visually. If you don't, perhaps we can have you just call in by telephone. Will that work?
Yeah, I don't have anything visually, so that's...
Okay. Are we able to give him a telephone number that he can call in on? And
It'll take us a few minutes to hook up a separate phone that we can get up to a mic.
okay. Mr. Light, do you have a phone number you'd like us to call you at when we're ready for you in that manner?
Yes, please. It is 703-302-9314.
Okay. All right, sir. We're going to have the technology put in place to do that. We're going to end the team call. I'm going to take the other case that is here while I'm waiting for them to get you on the phone and over the speaker so that we can transact business. I'll be back to you in a few minutes, okay?
That is fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Sir, which case are you here for?
We unfortunately, because David's still working in the Teams platform, won't be able to shift back to.
Oh,
I
okay.
apologize. I
Well-
wish we could do that, but
All
unfortunately,
right.
it's a little bit of a cumbersome switch.
Not a problem.
It may help if you shut the microphones off in here. It might be going back to him.
Maybe, but since we've already...
Disconnected.
All right.
Because we're recording it and this goes out on YouTube, we can't turn our mics off.
How many YouTube hits do we get?
I don't think many at all.
I didn't even know it was on YouTube until I read the comments and correspondence with, I believe it's 120 or 2120S South Atlantic LLC. You mentioned to the owner that it was on YouTube.
Available. 2000 South Atlantic, I think. So you didn't sign an 18-page waiver allowing it to be on YouTube?
Oh, allowing it to be on YouTube? No, nobody ever told me.
I don't think you have to worry. Cooking, baking is.
You know, if we're all famous, it'd be nice to know.
Infamous, do you also want to know about that?
Right.
Laura, how much time are we going to ask for to get to the end of the violation? To have them, including having them final inspected and approved by the building department? And any required permit?
I've been talking to Bernard. This is a big project. We're gonna do a revamp of the whole thing. About January 1st.
How many months?
It's gonna be like 8 and a half months or so.
I'm sorry? No, yes.
December 21st?
We can mount it up here with a desktop. Nice. Nice. Yeah, it should. At least it has before.
Because we don't generally go.
I gotta patch it because this wasn't.
Thank you for switching gears so quickly.
No problem. Just take a few minutes here.
Here for your list of items. if you're, because the time that you asked for was January 1st, December 21st, before the holidays, I'm not sure how much is gonna potentially be done in that time frame anyway. If you're willing to go with December 21st, then I will support that. But I will say this, if you decide for whatever reason to handle your bill differently, you still have to find a way to get these violations compliant. Like, let's say you decided not to, and I'm sorry, tell me if it's ready and I'm you decided to get a car wash, okay, I'm not gonna do that, I'm gonna focus on the front. I'm just gonna leave those things where we still have to go through the violations.
How long ago was Greg Northrup mayor?
Almost 16 years ago.
Normally, in a situation like yours, we'd say, yeah.
Oh, because his name is still on the gavel.
Support you if you're willing to go.
Someone gave that to Greg as a present, and we just kept it solid.
Yeah, I'll do that.
I see.
I mean, if something comes up, we get our plans, we think it's gonna be longer, is that something we can present to you? You might-
The way that it works
Right.
is, if you get this date and you're not compliant, 9.1 of the list. You come up here, we talk, was it compliant by that date or not? It's not about why or what or how long you need or anything like that. And the fines start. And they really start according to that date that is set. So if we came in January, because you weren't compliant by December 21st, the fines would have been since that in December 22nd on. When you become compliant, you become more time. And every time that you relate and ask for the reduction that our fines that accrue to, that's up to the special magistrate to reduce or rescind those fines. So that's why I'm saying, if your plans are gonna, normally I would suggest 4 months for these. If I'm gonna give you the 8 months, I'm going to put that on the record that that's, plans change with the expectation that you're going to address all of these violations no matter what. That means even if you thought you were gonna do it in business, you decide not to do that, it means you get that business, vacant, the CCDP, the Certificate of Compliance Vacant Building, that you go through and get those anyway. And that's not a simple, here's $100 and here, and it's paper, it's an inspection. We will have been addressing the stuff on the outside already. But anything that's inside that comes up, it's just for basic safety for our first responders, people walking through. It doesn't mean it's ready to open. It means that you aren't going to see it's not falling in, or you can fall into the side, etc. There's not an overload of storage, that kind of thing. That's what we look for, just basic light safety. But it can add up. You know, if we go to that second floor and the floor is clearly not stable, which has happened in some of these inspections, steps have to be taken to rectify that. So it's not, even though it's for basic life safety, sometimes in the building.
And now we're talking, when we're talking about this, we're talking about if for whatever reason we
Don't have a business
Okay.
on that property.
Yeah.
Either the car wash or
Okay.
something up front that is running out of there with your certificate of use, your
Absolutely.
business staff paid.
Mhm.
So, you know, if we do that date, it's with the understanding that if you shift or you realize, wow, it's just gonna take longer, that you do those other things. And it's not like it's reasonable, it's $100 for one, it's $100 for registration.
Hello, Mr. Light, this is Stephen DeLaroche calling from Daytona Beach Shores. To continue the hearing?
Yeah, yes, I can hear you, and so obviously we can continue with the hearing.
Yes, we can hear you quite clearly. So, what would you like to tell me, sir?
Right. First of all, I would like to sketch a little bit of a background. I do have to apologize for the fact that the building did deteriorate over the course of last year, and that is why there were so many of these non-conformances. But, you know, it was COVID, it was a very bad year for landlords. I had a situation where several of my tenants just stopped paying. They did not, I could not evict them because there was this moratorium, which is still on at the moment. I had to literally wait for, all of my tenants are on 1-year contracts. I had to literally wait for their contracts to run out to get them out of the building. They just did not pay. So it was a very hard year. I had to continue paying for all the utilities. I had to continue paying my mortgage. And there were a lot of costs, and some things did not get attended to as well as possible. And I'm sorry for that. I apologize for that. It was never my intention to just neglect the property. That's not who I am.
Right. I understand.
Secondly, I am in North Carolina. I do not, because of COVID and because we are older, my wife and I, we're in our mid-70s, I do not travel a lot, so I did not get to the property as often as I should have. There again, it is part of the overall situation within which we are and remain, and that is one of the problems. The next thing was that my maintenance man, who's been with me for 6 years and has done all my work, his wife was very ill. She has heart condition, she has cancer, and he himself was in hospital for a while. So, and during the time, I tried to get other people, and it is so hard to get people to just even come out. I have had instances where I had to wait 5.5 months for somebody to come and attend to a problem that I have had in another building just up the road, also in Bodefer, but in the Daytona Beach Council area. So it's not as though I've not tried or I haven't, it was not deliberate. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Now, the other thing is I am in the hands of people who tell me things have been done and then maybe they're not done as well as they could have been done. Prior to the first inspection, prior to the inspection in March, prior to that inspection in March, my handyman, he did a lot of the work, but he ran out of time because he is still not totally well. And for that reason, things did not get done. I have to say that Ms. Erstein was very supportive in all of this, and I am very thankful for that. But let us just look at all of the violations. The painting, I think most of that has been done. I hear that she says there are some areas where the fascia has not been properly done yet, and certainly we can go back to go and do that. The second thing she mentioned was the cabling on the building. We had both Spectrum and Dish out there to take off the additional cables and to repaint where the cables were to make the place nicer. If there are still cables that are in the way, as far as I understood, all of the cables that are there now are actually required to be there for tenants who have Wi-Fi or TV coming into their units. And I don't know how to deal with that. If there is more attention to be paid to it, I will certainly do that. The cable on the west face of the A building, I can see that that is a problem. I will have that attended to. Now the windows, let me speak about the windows, which are, I can't remember which ones, but the windows have been, I have secured the services of Steve Abel from Abel Construction to attend to those. I've already paid him a deposit. I've already given him the go-ahead. He was going to go to the council and apply for the permits. The fact that he's not been there yet is a bit of a surprise to me, because when I spoke to him yesterday, he said he was going to be there yesterday afternoon to submit those permits. Now, he probably didn't get around to it. I'm sure he will do that today, so that is underway. Now, as far as the engineering is concerned on the crack and that column, I am totally at a loss for words, because what I heard this morning is not what the engineer has been telling me.
And which engineer is that, sir?
Obviously, I have not been able to be there, but the first time the engineer went out, he just looked at the crack on the A building utility room. He met with my handyman, Vinny. While he was there, they called me. He spoke to me because Vinny looked at the crack and he applied some mastic to it, and he said it was fine. When the engineer was there, he stood next to the building. Vinny, the handyman, called me. I spoke with the engineer, Tim Olmsted, and he said to me, look, this is fine. There is structurally nothing wrong here. I am happy with this. I am going to give you an affidavit that this is totally in compliance with all of the regulations. I said thank you, and he left. Then when I spoke to Ms. Hurstein afterwards, she said to me, no, that is not correct. We need to have some engineering done. I tried to get hold of Mr. Olmsted again. I have not, since then up until today, I have not been able to speak to him again. I've spoken to his office several times. I've had several email communications with them. Then he went out a second time. He went to the column that is in question at the B building. First of all, he was going to go at a certain time. Handyman Vinny went out. I paid him to be there. The engineer never showed up. Then at another time, they just called and said, oh, he's going to be there. Vinny couldn't be there to meet him, but they were talking on the phone. Vinny directed him there. He got up. He said this is the way Vinny told me the story. He said that Mr. Olmsted went up there. He couldn't quite reach. He got onto his stool. Then he reached up. He said, this is fine. You can just cork this. It does not bear any weight. There is no problem here. And he again said to Vinny, I will give a certificate to the effect that this is fine. So now I hear that he is now saying that he is drawing up plans. As late as yesterday, his office said that they would give me an affidavit. So I would need to sort this out. But I have not been able to speak to Mr. Olmsted himself. He does not respond to my phone calls. When I call his office, I speak to the office lady. She tells me what she thinks is going on. And they kept promising me I was going to have this affidavit by no later than yesterday so that I would have it in time for this hearing. Yesterday, I asked, and then she said, oh no, he's got to go out a second time. He's not quite sure about something. And I am just at a loss for words on that one. But all I can ask is give me a little more time. I will get the engineer's report. If not from him, then from somebody else. But I've already got to pay him. I mentioned to you that it was a very tough year last year with COVID, because I was hit on two fronts. I mean, I couldn't collect the rent that I needed, and all of my tenants were sitting at home using my utilities, and I had to pay more on, my expenses were more because they were there longer, for more of the time. But be that as it may, I fully intend to get all of this fixed. And as I said, Able Construction will attend to some of this. As far as the engineering is concerned, I can only attend to it once I know what the actual position is, because twice I've been told that whatever is there is structurally fine and needs no more than caulking. So I apologize, but that is the way that that is what I've been informed about these violations. I am in the hands of others. I will make sure that it gets done, but I do need some time to do that.
Okay, Mr. Light, I absolutely hear what you're saying. You're not the first landlord that has told us this. I sympathize for you. I understand that this is how you earn your livelihood, and that when people do not pay rent, it is very difficult for you to maintain your buildings, make your mortgage payments, and hire contractors. So I certainly understand what you're saying. Ms. Herstein, do you have any questions for Mr. Light?
Mr. Light, yes, I totally understand. May I also say that I learned that we did get the application late yesterday, 20 minutes before we closed. It just didn't go in the computer yet, but it's probably there now. So for the windows. Apparently the electrical is coming as well as a result of Steve Abel. So I did want to correct that in the record. It wasn't in the computer, but it was in the office. Mr. Light, would you...
Yes, ma'am.
The city is not going to be satisfied with someone telling us that those two items that we've said need engineering are fine the way they are. So in light of the company that you're dealing with, my own confusing conversations with the company that you're dealing with, I would like to just say that all of these violations, E through L plus N, just give you until December 21st, which is the 8 months, because I'm afraid that you may need to find somebody else to do that engineering. I don't know. The city's willing to do that to keep it simpler. It gives you what I think is absolutely plenty of time to complete all of these, and will that be satisfactory to you?
Absolutely. I am sure that it can be done well in advance of that date, but if we could keep to that date, that would give me the time to get everything done.
All right.
It is certainly my intention to get everything done and to get the property back to full compliance.
Mr. Light, I can see that you're making a good faith effort. We've never given anybody this long an amount of time to 8 months. I do have to wrap up your portion of the hearing. I am going to find a violation as to E through L and N in the code enforcement case follow-up list of violations and give you until December 21st to rectify those violations. If you fail to rectify them, there will be an ongoing fine of $250 per day until they get rectified. And order that you pay $149.09 administrative costs for this procedure within 30 days. Can you do that, sir?
Yes, absolutely.
In addition, no finding of fact as to A, B, and D. Is that correct, Ms. Herstein?
The no fine standing order, correct?
No fine standing order, A, B, and D. All right. Mr. Light, you seem to understand how things proceed. You also seem to have a good working relationship with the Code Enforcement Department. Hope never to see you again, sir. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to end this call.
Thank you,
Right,
Mr. Light.
thank you. Bye.
Bye. Okay. Now, who are you?
David will give us the thumbs up when, we're ready.
Okay, and who are you?
My name is Mauro Messina.
Oh, okay. And you're here for which hearing number?
5B.
5B? Okay. Which so happens to be the next one. All right. Okay. Ms. Herstein, I saw you provide him with a packet of documents. Sir, what is your name?
Mauro Messina.
Mauro Messina. You're the son?
No.
No? That's what I get for trying to guess. All right, and have you had an opportunity to review the packet?
Yeah, I've gone through it, yeah.
You have-
I've spoke to her about what's going on.
Okay, do you have a legal objection to anything in the packet being entered into evidence? Okay. Did the two of you reach an accommodation? Ms. Herstein?
I'm not certain that Mr. Messina has some other plans in order that he wants to accomplish, which will address the violations.
Okay,
And he asked for January 1st, a compliance date, and I asked him to push that back to the December 21st.
okay.
Because again, it's 8 months and I see very little might happen in that, typically that 10 days around the holidays. So I asked if he would accommodate that, and he said he would, but I wanted to make sure that he felt strongly about it, as opposed to I felt like I had taken 10 days that he thought he was going to need. So I think that we settled on December 21st, which isn't 8 months and a lot longer than I would normally give for this type of violation set. Because I understand what he's trying to do, we're willing to do that, but.
Trying to hire
we
elves as
understand.
contractors and they don't get off until December 25th? I don't
I don't know.
I don't understand.
The city is comfortable giving until December 21st of 2021.
Okay.
With the understanding that if his plans change and he doesn't go with the full-scale remodel of everything and opening both businesses or even one of the businesses, he's got to still knock out each of the violations.
Okay, this is the car wash.
2120.
Right. Now, I drove by there today and did see numbers on the building.
And some of these, and I went last night, and there were a couple things that had been addressed. Just a couple minor things had been taken care of yesterday. And for the record, we could either go through them, at least to get the violations in the record, or if Mr. Messina is willing to say, yes, all but the speaker violation, the all but C, G, and L, the speaker violation, the number violation, and the, actually just those two, the speaker and the number violation, have been rectified, that all others are in violation, and that he agrees to bring them into compliance by December 21st, 2021, in one way or another, that includes final inspection on all required permits. Then we don't need to go through it if he's willing to say that. Otherwise, I'd be more comfortable just going through each violation, getting the record satisfied, but we would expect a full stipulation from him on the record if that's what he's stating he will do. In either way, we're asking for reimbursement of $149.09 with the affidavit on 5B27. So the two that would come off, to make it clear, would be violation C,
And L.
G.
G is trash and
Yeah,
debris.
we did that too, and L. So those three
Okay.
would be, would come off. And I don't need a no fine standing order on that. Actually, I would like a no fine standing order on that, because the trash and debris is something that comes up on that property regularly.
Okay. Mr. Messina, do you understand what the city's offering you?
Yes, sir.
They are willing to grant you the time extension to December 21st. Yeah, why don't you come up here? They're willing to grant you the time extension to December 21st to rectify all violations except for C, G, and L.
Yeah.
If you fail to, you could be fined up to $250 a day. They're also asking for $149.09 within 30 days. Are you willing to accept that from the city, or do you want them to prove it?
No, I accept it.
Okay. Could you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, same question under oath. Do you accept it?
I do.
Okay. So you can get this all done by December 21st?
Yes.
Excellent. What are you going to do with the property?
We are opening the back as a car wash.
Okay.
And then the front, we're trying to bring a brewery in. I've talked to Stuart a little bit, but I have to set up a meeting with, I think it's Rhonda, is it Rhonda?
Nancy Maddox.
Nancy Maddox, yeah.
I was in DeLand last night on business, and there's a brand-new Scottish brewery there.
It's
So-
a new thing now. Everyone,
It is.
you know.
It is. All right. So I'm going to issue an order number 7 as to all violations except for C, G, and L. Order that you bring the property into compliance with by December 21st, 2021, or a fine of $250 per day will be levied, $149.09 within 30 days, and a no fine standing order on C, G, and L. Those are the numbers, the garbage, and the speakers. All right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate you sitting through this.
No problem. Thank you so much.
Have a good day.
All right, you- Thank you.
Please keep in touch, and
I will.
please don't wait until halfway
I
through,
will.
which is what so many people do,
I
and
will.
it bothers them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So now, I believe,
We could go to 5C, or we could go back to 4A.
well, Sherry, do you have a preference since you're keeping track of all this?
Let's go to C, and then we'll go back to A.
Okay, all right, so we will call up 4A, property owner B and Y Incorporated, address 2000 South Atlantic Avenue, Daytona Beach Shores, code enforcement case CDEF 2019-74. All right, Ms. Herstein, you've been previously sworn. This is the one with the columns, right? And the planter.
This is a first compliance hearing. Unfortunately, at this point, I would like to, just based on the fact that I didn't hear back from the owner, we've had some conversation. He was very clear that he is not recovered from his knee surgery in any way, shape, or form. And I didn't hear back from him. Don't see anybody here today as
Right.
far as an authorized representative. So I would like to ask for a continuance specifically to the May 19th hearing, to the May 19th meeting, so that I feel confident, the city can be confident that he has had ample time. I think that unfortunately this caught him by surprise. I'm not sure why, but I think that he felt like because he had moved things forward and was waiting for other people, that it should just wait with him, and unfortunately that's not the way our process works. So this doesn't stop fines from accruing, certainly putting this off a month, but it does give him time to have an authorized representative present, and I think that that's a good idea for all parties involved.
That's very compassionate of you. The continuance is granted.
Thank you.
All right. And skipping forward to the final hearing 5C, which I practice saying their name. Property owners Nak Hung En Fan and Nui T. Lee, 2416 South Atlantic Avenue, code enforcement case CDEF 2021-03. I do not see any representatives of this property.
I do not either, and I'm surprised.
I'm a little surprised that it's a Wells Fargo bank building, too.
It was. That's a picture of it before Wells Fargo left.
Looks nice in the picture.
We were happy to have them here. I would like to ask that each of the documents provided by the city and the Code Enforcement Special Magistrate's notebook for this case be accepted along with the slides in the PowerPoint.
Seeing no objection, they'll be accepted.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And the big question I have before we get started is, what is the significance of the quitclaim deed that was outlined in your correspondence with the owner?
What was the date, please?
Or, I'm sorry, warranty deed, January 15, 2021.
Okay, so in the background information, basically, we had a full case with the prior owner. We had gotten in, we had done the interior CCVP inspection, the Certificate of Compliance Vacant Property, and had done the exterior. We sent him the notices that arose from that. Actually, there were no interior violations. The interior was perfectly safe for emergency responders, et cetera. But there were the exterior, at that point, 16 exterior violations noted. We sent the notice. He did not respond, addressed none of those issues, and then ultimately he was on the December 4th, 2020 meeting agenda.
Which
we did not end up having that meeting, so he ended up being able to sell the property on December 9th. It changed hands. The current owner had been in contact with us since September, had been sent all of the documents, saw the violations, knew that they would be responsible for then fixing them if it had gone before the magistrate, before you on December 4th. And if it didn't, then they would still be responsible for fixing them, but would have their own time period as opposed to being stuck with the prior owners. The quitclaim deed comes in because generally a purchaser will be able to get one that day or shortly thereafter the closing, and then it gets recorded. It took 6 weeks for it to get recorded, and nobody was willing to provide me with one, so I did not have information to notice the new owner.
Okay.
That was why I pointed that out, because I basically had to wait for quite some time to be able to get it started, unfortunately, from the beginning.
Thank you for clearing that up. I hadn't seen that come up before us before.
And
All right.
sometimes people are willing to just pop them on over to us, and that's fine, but, you know, I understand why they didn't. But we have since met. Once I did get that quitclaim deed, or that warranty deed, rather, now I'm saying quitclaim. I did generate I went out and re-inspected again, found a couple more things on the exterior. A couple things had changed, and I sent the new notice of violation.
Okay.
So, like I said, I had spoken with Ms. Lee. Paulina is what she goes by. Ms. Lee, at least 4 times before that sale, so she was well apprised of, you know, she asked all kinds of questions. I thought she was really, I felt like she had a good handle on what was going to be required moving forward once, you know, if they did buy the property. When I sent the notice of violation, good service was achieved for that. And basically February 19th, after they received it, she called, we set up a meeting, and I walked the property with both her, and I think it's her husband, Mr. I apologize, yes. And Mr., I think it's Fan. I think it's Mr. Fan.
Fan. Oh, PH, yes. Not Hung is the first name, I imagine.
And had they been here today, I would have asked them to help us all so that we could address them properly. So I apologize if they're watching this for my mispronunciations. I did meet with Ms. Misley and Mr. Fan, and I think that they are husband and wife, but I'm not certain. We discussed one by one. We walked the property, went through all of the violations, different ways that he could have them addressed, etc. Okay, lots of questions, but I was happy to do it. Since then, Pasco Electric obtained a permit for the electrical work there. There were a number of things that needed to be capped off, that needed to be adjusted, changed, fixed, whatever, and including 2, I'll show you in just a minute with the slides, but including the 2 meter boxes, meter cans, which were very rusty, and those have since been replaced. So they do have an electrical permit. It was actually scheduled for a progress inspection yesterday. They didn't have the notice of commencement into us, so we couldn't do one. It wasn't recorded, so they did record one quickly, and now we're set up for tomorrow for a progress inspection on that, which is good. Also, a stucco worker, somebody who does stucco but doesn't have a state license, and a general contractor, both submitted different types of paperwork for permitting. it sounds as though neither will be following through with that. The stucco worker needed a license based on the type of stucco it is, with the framework behind it, and as opposed to just a block wall. And the general contractor said that he wasn't going to be following through with it. Somebody had given him possibly advice about what the job entailed, and after he submitted the permit application said that it was going to be much more extensive than he had been led to understand. So the price that had been worked out was not going to come close. Okay, so I'd love to, I also sent, re-inspected the property, sent the statement of violation request for hearing and notice of hearing, and good service was achieved for that. I'd like to show you violation by violation with pictures, if I may. I'd like to defog too. Sorry.
Do you know if the owners are local? I'm just curious why they wouldn't be
So,
here.
yes.
Particularly with a brand new purchase, you'd think they'd want to protect it.
And they have been very interested and involved in protecting it. I was looking to the address, but I do believe that they are. All the hidden slides are showing up. I apologize.
It's okay.
Okay. Violation A is grass and weeds over 12 inches high in places on the property. For whatever reason, and the best we could figure out, all three of us together, was that the previous owner attempted to, there was grass and weeds all growing through this area of bushes right here, and another, which I'll show you a better slide for in just a second, that they had just gone through and done like a kill, like a roundup sort of a thing, application to it, and it basically killed all these shrubs, because just in these two areas, they've all died, and all the rest of the shrubs that were in a continuous line on the property look great, so not sure. So you can see the grass and weeds still growing up through these bushes in places, choking out the bushes, in fact. Violation B, stucco is delaminating in places on most vertical parapet surfaces. Not the entire surface, but in every vertical surface that you look on, you can see evidence of stucco delamination. Again, the first pictures that I took for this property owner, January 29th, those are associated with the orange date bar, and then the re-inspection pictures taken all on April 9th are associated with the red date bar. Violation C, same pictures, paint is faded, streaked, and contributing to stucco delamination on vertical parapet surfaces, and we had a conversation about that if you let your paint get to a point where it's not doing its job anymore, you're going to have many more issues with the delamination. Violation D, concrete spalling on the northwest corner of the building, upward from grade. So this is, you can see, and it looks to me, I'm not a professional for this kind of work at all, but it looks to me like the crack is more pronounced, unfortunately. This is something that we told them they are going to need engineering for as well. Violation E, building paint peeling streaked and discolored in places, same kind of thing, but then there are other issues. And I apologize, but my camera has a black spot in some pictures on the left. So that black spot is not actually on the building.
So the black spot in the corner of the building?
In the corner on the lower right picture, yes.
Oh,
along that corner
okay.
is from my camera, but everything else is as it stands.
All right.
And it has resolved itself. The violation F, 2 electrical boxes rusting through and deteriorating near the northwest corner of the building. Now the upper picture on the left is the way that it stood with the rusting boxes. As I said, they do have a permit. We have done no inspections on the work for that permit, but you can see that those 2 boxes have been replaced. Unfortunately, because we haven't been able to final inspect those or even inspect that piece of things in a final way, they're still listed as unresolved.
Are they required to be locked?
There are clips on them. There are other things that enter, and I think Steve can answer that question better. If you do want an answer for it, we'll bring him up for you as well.
Okay, because that red handle looks like just available to be thrown. Anybody walking by.
Violation G, sealing of drive-through is delaminating in places, and you can see that actually either is worse because of the weather or the elements, or because of what it's doing inside, or it's worse because somebody needed to open it up to look and see what was going on in there. I'm not certain, but it today, or as of last night, looks worse than any of these pictures. Violation H, sealing hatches at drive-through and front entrance are rusting and deteriorating. And unfortunately, when they start to bow, eventually they can actually not catch anymore and swing down. That's happened in a couple hotel rooms with things like that. Hit people in the head, although this isn't going to hit anybody in the head. Violation I, rusty drop box on the south building face is a non-functional element. You can see nothing's changed in the lower right-hand picture with that. Violation J, mirror bracket hanging from parapet soffit is a non-functional element. I have no idea why that that orange circle dropped down and the pink one shifted, but if you look up from the orange circle, you can see that mirror bracket.
Right.
And in the lower picture, there is no mirror bracket. That's the one violation that they did correct. They removed it. Violation K, 2 sets of clear tubes and call boxes at the drive-through window are non-functional elements. You can see them in the upper picture and still there in the lower picture. I will say that because they had this drive-through, the owners expressed that they were interested in possibly getting another bank or somebody who would utilize a drive-through in, and I said that if they were able to secure it, we couldn't just let them leave them indefinitely for that to happen. Any bank that's going to come in or financial institution is generally going to want their own sized for them, brand new type of equipment in that manner. But if it was some other kind of a drive-through, that if they found a tenant quickly and let us know, we could work with them on that. But at this point,
I suppose a burrito would fit through the tube.
I don't know. I don't keep it very warm, but who knows? But at this point, that they were non-functional elements and needed to be removed.
Okay.
Violation L, concrete pad formerly was supporting the pole sign, which Wells Fargo took when they left. They left the pad. Mr. Fan kind of jimmied it a little bit and thought that it was something that he could pull out himself. We also did some measurements. They were talking about possibly placing a new monument style sign there. But either way, right now it's a non-functional element. It either needs to be made functional with a sign or needs to be removed. Violation M, junction box formerly feeding the pole sign at the southwest corner of the property is a non-functioning element, and that has not changed. Violation N, bollard near southeast exit driveway is rust covered. That has not changed. Violation O, sections of the pole light are rusty and in disrepair. North side of the property, especially at the pole cap and handhole cover. So if you look at the 2 pictures on the left, the upper picture, they're basically screws in rusted metal. That has since been rectified in a way that's satisfactory to the city. The handhole cover issue part of it has not. Violation P, shrubs near the north property line and at the northwest corner are not in a neat and well-maintained condition, which is what the code reads. I have sort of outlined for you with the blue lines the shrubs that we're speaking of, the ones that are not doing very well at this point and need to be addressed.
Okay.
These shrubs were probably required on their site plan, and so do need to be in place. It's not just a matter of being able to remove the dead shrubs and saying that it's now compliant, because they're required. Violation Q, the ATM was removed with, and the wall was boarded without any kind of building permit on the west building face. Wells Fargo.
Is that just a piece of painted plywood?
It certainly is. At one point, they talked about possibly putting a door in, but Ms. Lee thinks she wants to put her office here and they don't need another door. They have enough doors, so they were planning on blocking it in. And needed to provide engineering for exactly how to block it in and get the permit for that. But that's what they indicated they wanted to do. Violation R, 2 lighted wall signs removed without an electrical permit to properly cap the connections, east and north building faces. So in addition to just, being boxes there, there were 2 lighted signs that Wells Fargo had, and we need to make sure they were properly capped off, and that would be included in whatever electrical permit that they pulled, hopefully, and we just need to be called to inspect that they have done it when they've done it. Violation F, the pole sign removed without an electrical permit to properly cap connections, wires exposed, again, same kind of thing.
I saw that before.
The building, violation T, remains vacant longer than 60 days without obtaining the certificate of compliance. Vacant property, there's no business tax paid or certificate of use obtained for a business occupying the premises, and there's no evidence of a business occupying the premises. This is a screenshot taken of the permitting system, and there have been no updates to this since that April 16th date. This is the permitting for the property in the last 8 years. You can see that that stucco finish remediation permit was submitted. That's that red X on the top line. The contractor called, the license holder for that called and said that he was not going to follow through for reasons we previously discussed. And he said that he would send us an email telling us to please just close it out. Nothing can happen with it until he's busy, until he sends that email, because if he doesn't pick it up, he has to send power of attorney with someone who does. So it's not like it's a rush for him to do that, but he had indicated he's not following through.
Okay.
I asked if maybe he wanted to talk to the property owner and work out the new
Yeah, work out a
cost.
new price.
He generally does high rises and does work on high rises, a lot of concrete restoration, which are huge, sometimes multi-million-dollar jobs. And this is a smaller job, I think, than he would generally take on himself. He was going to work with one of his employees to oversee it.
Can't make him do this, so.
We can't make, I'd love to try sometimes, but nope, we can't. And then again, the yellow box is the Pasco electric permit that we haven't had an inspection for, but we'll have one tomorrow.
Okay.
So we bring the property before you.
And you're asking for a number 7.
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor. For A through I and K through T. And that's eliminating J, which was the mirror that they took care of. So A through I and K through T. Because of the need for engineering, because this permit was so recently submitted and is not going to be followed through with, we think 6 months is an appropriate time frame to correct, or fines of $250 per day would begin, and we're requesting the reimbursement of the minimum administrative fees of $162.89, and you can see an affidavit on page 5C27. 6 months brings us to October 21st, 2021. I was really hoping to speak with them today to get a better idea of their time frame that they would request. I had originally thought 5 months. I'm giving them an extra month because they're not here to they're not here to tell us. But I do know that it's challenging right now. But I feel comfortable that they're very versed in what needs to be done.
Okay. All right. I'm going to find violations as proven by the city, issue an order number 7 as to violations A through I and K through T. Find that the city dismissed J. Order that all violations be rectified by October 21st, 2021, or $250 per day fines will accrue, and order $162.89 be paid within 30 days. All right, does anybody else have any other business today?
Your Honor, I don't, as long as you're acceptable or you find that the upcoming hearing dates at this
Everything
point.
looks fine to me.
Excellent.
Anybody going on vacation? Okay, well, then we are adjourned.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I do have a question I want to ask.